sharks refusing to evolve because if they evolve,
And now we're recording.
Land sharks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Drexel Freethought Society weekly podcast. The Drexel Freethought Society is the only openly secular organization at Drexel University. Yes, we are. Every week, we try to promote discussion of various topics: science, philosophy, religion,
Ethics.
lots of science, I guess ethics, if we have to.
And the Mothman.
And the Mothman. This week, we are going to be discussing evolution, that misunderstood elusive science.
I still don't understand it.
I'm very sorry. We'll probably fill your head with wonderful knowledge this next
Well,
hour.
it's not that I don't understand it. There's certain theories that I'm like, I still don't 100% get.
Well, ask the questions in
Let's
several
discuss
moments.
Like
Let's 1 second. We have to do introductions. Otherwise, the internet will never know who we are.
I think the internet knows who I am by now.
My name is David
I'm
McDevitt,
still not
and I'm the president of this organization.
I'm still not getting anything through the live stream.
Well, she is, so it's working. You,
Vice President, Drexel Freethought Society, Dante.
Colby.
Colby Bastion. I'm here.
And Aksa.
He was talking.
I know.
Is this the right voice, doesn't it?
Nathan Scott.
You sound like a reporter of some kind.
Yeah, he's
I'm Nathan Scott.
he's the
Attorney at
disembodied
large.
voice of.
I'm Colby
Today's-
Bastion. My name just sounds awesome.
I know.
Anyway,
That's all.
and this is Aksa, she's the girl. We need one of those or we lose our funding.
I'm also the secretary and treasurer because nobody else wants that job.
And we love her.
They better love
He
me.
tried to. Jeez, difficult.
Okay,
Is it difficult?
let's just jump into evolution. You had some questions.
Yeah, I did. The,
Speak
bo-
louder.
the bottleneck effect.
Oh, okay.
Genetic element?
Yeah, like, is there more than one type?
Well,
Yes,
that's
kind
just
of.
what I know about it.
That's why I'm confused. Like,
So you want me to?
I get the general idea, but
It's like some kind of event happens. It's Under Armour. It keeps being warm. This is a shirt. It covers the rest of me.
I'll give an example
That one
after
keeps
he.
him warm. That one keeps him sexy.
Thank you.
I'll give an
I
example
think it's
after
the other way
he
around.
explains.
That one's better fitting.
Okay.
God, okay.
I'll give an example after he's
The-
done explaining.
The general principle of bottlenecking is some kind of event happens that causes some kind of species to be put under an enormous amount of environmental pressure. This could be like earthquake. Suddenly there's a gigantic cliff that makes all these animals separated from the rest of the other animals, and it causes a huge number of them to die.
What's that?
And that's because only certain animals with certain traits are able to survive. But the thing that makes bottlenecking different than normal, no we don't. Magic is where magicians. So disease of some kind of predator that suddenly eats all of them except for the few that are really, really fast. Bottlenecking. It reduces a large population to a very small population with very specific traits.
What about genetic drift?
That's when some kind of characteristic goes from one group to another group.
It can be like that. I mean, it could be a part of a bottlenecking also. Like we use cheetahs as an example. Cheetahs are in danger because they have very little genetic variance right now. They've been overhunted much like leopards, but they have a much smaller range than leopards. Also, they are not at the very top of the food chain, so their survivability is a bit lower. Because one, it's harder for them to catch than other animals, despite their speed. And two, as far as the super predators of the African savanna is concerned, they're at the very bottom compared to hyenas, leopards, and wild dogs. So you have all this selective, all this competition, predatory competition weighing on them. Then you have the fact that people are hunting them for their fur, and then you have their very limited range. So now you have, not to mention there's diseases, because every animal has diseases that we know of. So now you have like this small population of cheetahs, and luckily they are improving, but they still have very little genetic variance. So any genetic disorder or any disease that's related to their genetics at all could potentially wipe them out.
But you get that? That's a very good example of bottlenecking. Large population, due to various environmental pressures, pushes them down to a very, very small, very specific population. Genetic drift, on the other hand, that would be if you have like two separate populations with slightly varying characteristics, and then just like a few of one group goes to the other group. It allows gene flow between species. Is that genetic drift?
It's around there. I'm still actually looking into the genetic drift, but it can also be certain factors that determine, basically natural selection. It determines the environment and everything else determines what traits are going to be selected for, which are going to be the best for that organism to survive. Genetic drift can be something as cataclysmic as an earthquake, like you said. It could be sexual selection, which we'll definitely get into, especially when it comes to our friend Peacock.
What?
Peacocks are pretty.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
That's not a problem.
They're really easy to see from really far away.
And if their tail gets too big, then they're pretty much screwed.
Well, here you go. With this might be an example of genetic drift, but there's also something called runaway selection, where certain traits that don't seem to be favorable as far as fitness and fecundity is concerned are selected. For example, we're going to go with the peacock. You have the male peacock. The female tends to pick the males with the biggest, brightest, most robust tail, just absolutely huge, gorgeous. That's what she wants. But the thing is, that tail is energetically expensive to create. I mean, this male has to be on the prowl for food and shelter and everything in order to keep himself healthy, in order to create such a large and beautiful tail. But the problem is, it basically just screams out, "Hey, eat me! I'm food." Like the bigger your tail, the leopard's going like, "Wow, that's a nice tail. Eat that bird. He's very healthy." The peacock can't see around him. It's heavy, so he can't really move anywhere. And if you look at the female, she's all nice and camouflaged. So she really doesn't care. But she wants that male to be as big and as bright as possible.
Yeah, but if your offspring are that big and bright, isn't that like defeating the purpose of being able to survive?
Now, here's the thing. This is a thing that I keep talking to everybody when we talk about evolution. There is no purpose. The only thing that matters is what is best at making the animal proliferate.
Yeah, exactly. You want survival. And
Well, not necessarily survival, just proliferation. So if you basically can be born and have sex immediately, it doesn't matter how long you live after that.
That's not survival.
That's quick to sex.
To some degree, though, because fecundity is important.
But at the same time, Dan and I were just talking about this before things started. Mayflies. Mayflies are a species that literally, once it gets past being a baby, it is a penis on wings. It has no way to get nutrients. It exists to have sex and then die inside of 20 hours of becoming an adult.
Depending on the species.
Yeah.
well, mayflies.
Yeah.
Is there more than one species of mayflies?
Yes. Some species can maintain their adult stage for a month. But most of them for a few hours to a couple of days.
Yeah, they are breeding machines with a pair of wings to get them around.
Yeah, but I feel like the whole point of evolution would be for survival. Like you want to survive.
It's to proliferate the species.
It's literally.
Which I think is a horrible thing, but sure.
It's literally just your genetic code wanting to make as much of itself more as it can.
Which brings me to one point. Let's clarify one thing. When everybody talks about Charles Darwin, everybody remembers that one term, survival of the fittest. Well, see, the thing
Never
is,
in Darwin.
yeah,
Darwin didn't say that.
that's what people claim. But that's why I'm going to tackle it right now. Even if he did say it's quite fallacious. Because it doesn't matter how long you survive. If you don't breed and pass on your genes, well, you're not contributing to any evolutionary changes at all. So,
But what if I don't want to contribute to evolutionary changes?
well,
Then you're
Evolutionarily, you're useless.
Biologically.
pretty much, yeah, pretty much. So you can survive all you want, but if you
Oh wait,
don't,
actually,
you'll never make it.
that is going a little too far.
You could contribute to other people's
Yes.
genetic proliferation.
Technically, that's true. If you live in a communal species.
Yeah, you can do that, but your genes won't be passed on.
So
But
then,
then if you have the super social species like bees, then they do have a genetic desire to keep their colony living.
Not
because
themselves, because they can't breed.
they can't breed, but also they are genetically identical
Yeah.
to most of their sisters.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
how
just-
So female?
Yeah, all bees are
all
female
workers
except
The
for
are
workers
female.
are female.
except for express males that are designed for nothing but to breed with the
How do you design a male bee?
The
It's
queen
just
goes,
when
"Ooh,
it's
I'm
born.
gonna make male bees now."
eggs and
Yeah,
bees?
That would be
Yeah. Also,
really
one of the
interesting.
big contributing factors is literally just heat, the temperature that the eggs are kept at. So they will have worker bees go out and like surround this one specific. They'll be instructed to get around this one egg and vibrate themselves to cause more heat, so
And
that
that'll make
they
them
develop
feel
as a male.
Okay.
Exactly. It's same thing with like crocodiles. Crocodile eggs become male or female depending on the temperature that they're
Even
incubated
some
at.
turtles something like
Yeah,
that.
a lot of species do that, and it's a bizarre evolutionary trait, but it actually leads to some problems, unfortunately, for them. That's why bees are a little bit better at it because they can specifically help to regulate that. It's also a really cool attack mechanism.
against wasps.
Japanese honeybees. They are able to survive 2 degrees higher than the Japanese hornet or wasp. One of the two. And the Japanese wasp is like 2 inches long, whereas the Japanese honeybee is a regular sized honeybee. And this wasp would just kill everything and take whatever it wanted, except they mass around it and vibrate themselves until they make it so hot that the wasp dies, and they are 1 to 2 degrees away from dying.
They basically cook the wasp. But the thing about the breeding of, when it comes to eusociality, there's
Before that?
Yeah, you wanted to say something?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
back about the peacocks.
Okay.
That brought up an interesting curiosity I've noticed that I never really understood. So like I can understand how with certain species the males will fight for the right to breed with females. That all makes sense because that causes the offspring to have generally better flight performance and survivability and breedability and all that. But with birds specifically, they seem to have the craziest and most absolutely irrelevant criteria for breeding. They've got like these dances as their colors, and
Ooh, pick me.
Those things are much closer to the methodology used by humans than most other animals, though.
Birds
So
are
are humans bizarre and illogical in their mating practices then?
hell yeah.
course, yes, we
From
are.
an evolutionary
I would say
standpoint,
so.
I don't think we're
humans
that
are crazy.
bizarre.
Ooh, pick
Go
me.
ahead, Dave.
Fine, you.
Okay. All of those things that you're describing, the bizarre nests, the crazy dancing, the giant feathers, the buying Ferraris,
The bike Ferrari.
all of these things are effectively, let's see if I can word this correctly. Look at me, I can waste energy.
It's a very
And then-
cynical way of
and then
looking
if
at
you
it.
and then if you replace energy with money, you understand how it works for people. Look at me. Like if you're a bird, look at me. I'm able to gather so many resources for myself that I can waste time and energy creating this elaborate structure because I'm so fit and powerful. And then if you make it into the human side, look at me. I have so much money and influence, I can waste it on crack.
And that's why people buy them for your attention.
But notice the selection is in most species is indeed female driven. That it is the choice of the female that puts the selection pressure on the males.
But it's like this isn't like my own philosophy, but I heard someone say one time, if you could if a man could have sex in a cardboard box, he would. If a man could get a woman and make love in a cardboard box, he wouldn't want a house or a car or money. He couldn't give a shit. But no woman is gonna have sex with him in a cardboard box. That's literally the only reason men care.
The only reason they want an education, the only reason they want to get a good job.
Yeah. It actually
That's boring.
No. The idea, but
Very
the problem,
cynical.
but
It's
the
cynical
problem
and accurate
is,
for like 60% of the people.
the problem is it actually leads
Thank
to
you for clarifying.
one big thing. It was It was talking. I read this article that was saying about
He said
essentially
60%.
the
Yeah.
reason that
Oh,
men are
Let him finish and
are
then-
essentially psychologically programmed to hate women. And one of the big things was,
And women are psychologically programmed to hate men.
well, one of the biggest ones was
Which means it's your fault.
no.
Yes, it is
One
my
of,
fault.
one
Get
of
it?
the one of the
Right.
big reasons was we hate the fact that men hate the fact that literally everything that we do is for you, is for women. It doesn't, everything we do is never enough because we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for you because we want you to like us. No matter how much money we have, no matter how much power we have or
It
influence.
works the
it
same
lit-
for women too.
It's literally just because we want to get your attention, so it's never enough for most people.
No, it is. Like, why do women wear certain clothes, buy certain things? Like,
But
It's to get the
but
attention of males.
here's the thing. I mean, that's
That's
true.
true.
It
Why
doesn't-
not, like,
wait,
double
wait, hold on.
dip
Wait a second.
that?
No,
Wait, hold on. Let me
No,
say.
guys.
Give it a chance.
That was perfect. It's too easy to do for women, is the idea.
Here's my answer.
There's a ridiculous and horrible statement that I read, but it's surprisingly poignant for most people. Why do men who have a lot of sex get praised, but women who have a lot of sex get called a slut? Because it's hard to be a stud.
Yeah.
To be a slut, all you have to go is, here, I'm a woman, and you will have men. To be a guy and do that, it's hard as shit.
No cursing.
Sorry.
Basically, what he's saying is
You have to
a lot of
work.
women can just walk into a bar, say, and guys will be like, bing.
Exactly.
And
It's
Why'd you look
easy.
at
It's like you're never
Why'd you look at Nate when you
I
said
mean,
that?
there's
But
variance in
it's-
it though. There is variance because you do have really shallow guys that are like, I want this particular thing in a woman, whether I want to just have sex with a relationship. It does vary, and that's why I say humans tend to be weird when it comes to our mating habits because there's so much variance. See, with a lot of animals, you can kind of look at like say female birds, and you know for most of the time they're gonna go for the really big bright male that does the elaborate dance and the pretty feathers.
Keep
But with
talking. I'm gonna
us-
hang this poster up.
But with us, there tends to be a lot of variance, especially in different social structures. In some social structures, sometimes the females want to fight for the male. I mean, it varies. But I'm going to try to drag it a little bit away from too much sexual selection. I did want to say one more thing about the insects, about the hymenoptera, which are the bees, the wasps, and the ants. Yes, temperature does dictate it, but also it depends on fertilization of the eggs. And it also depends on what kind of food they feed a certain bee. Like they actually have a special kind of food that the workers create that they feed one larva and it becomes a queen. In fact, if you, Sean O'Donnell, who's a professor here, put it, this is the best way I've heard it put. He said basically the worker bees or the worker ants or wasps are nothing more than a phenotypical extension of the queen herself. That's basically what they are. Also, the males tend to be haploid, which means they only have one set of chromosomes, and the females tend to be diploid. However,
So
they
the males are basically nothing but sperm.
basically that's basically what the males are. And actually, after they finish mating with the female, sometimes the workers will kick the male out.
Yeah.
They're like, you had sex, okay, go.
Your point has been served. Get out.
Basically, yeah.
They don't
But,
kill
At least they don't eat it.
No,
But,
oftentimes they do, but
Yeah, I
sometimes
tend to go
they
back
get
to
out.
the bees. But there's also, we
And then he
should-
dies alone.
yeah, actually that happens. He will go, without the workers, he cannot live.
Sometimes they do get incorporated into other colonies.
It's
though.
very rare. It depends on the species because there's thousands of species of hymenoptera.
They all go to this
I
bar
know
where they
a
tell
lot of-
stories about how they had
many
sex with
species
Guys,
do
one
have
person talking.
A reintegration.
Yeah.
That'd be
aspect.
funny.
Like,
Yeah.
We'll find other colonies.
Super colonies. Only certain social insects that do super colonies. But also, we should look at other things dealing with evolution, not just sexual selection. Because we could do all day about that. We should look up stuff about like predator and prey interactions. There's definitely a lot of evolution with that. They have what's called coevolution, where it seems like certain traits are being chosen. Like, for example, the predator develops a way.
Antelope and the cheetah.
Antelope and cheetah,
Lynx and the
snowshoe hare and lynx are perfect examples. It's like as soon as this trait's selected for, the predator finds a way to go against that trait, and then the prey finds a way to defeat that trait, and so it just keeps racing on and on.
It's a perfect imbalance.
Something like that. I mean, I would say more of a balance. It's like I'm up here. Nope, nope. It's a constant.
That's
race.
why
Right.
it's like
It's never
the,
in balance.
Yeah,
the predator. I say it kind of is.
That
It's
happens
just the
sometimes.
predator is only able to catch the slightly slower of the animal, and
So
then
now-
then only the fastest prey are able to get away from the predator.
But then only the fastest predators are able to catch the faster prey now and get stronger. And so now, since they're just as fast, it's only the ones that can hide better that stay alive. So now it's only the predators with better eyesight that can find them. And now it's only the ones that can climb higher. And now it's the only ones who can break down the tree. And now it's only the ones who can kick the other one in
No,
the
but then
face.
we have,
But like
but then
it's
we have
things
to,
like that.
but then we have to remember that as some traits get better, other traits get worse.
Exactly.
So then it could
And-
swing
yeah,
back.
and then
Now
so
who can go
How often
faster?
Yeah.
does that happen? Because specialization seems like a major thing
Yeah.
Specialization for what?
for traits in evolution. Like you don't often see them change course. If something's evolved for speed, doesn't it? You know.
Not
It
necessarily.
can be selected against, and
Uh,
then it's
alright,
selected for.
Good example is like
You can look at lice actually, and see. You can see evolution right there. I believe
That's actually a good point, Chaz.
What's that?
It's also based off the habitat more than just the interaction.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
So,
it's, it's definitely ecologically driven.
So kind of like the one with the paws that are able to dig into the dirt or the snow slightly better.
Absolutely, that is absolutely. I mean, in fact, environmental factors are a big thing for as far as natural selection.
environment is everything because that's literally everything there is. That includes other species, both
Well, yes.
predators,
Then-
prey.
We're speaking specifically of habitat then.
Okay.
But I was about to mention the louse. You know, there's three primary lice that humans are parasitized by. You got your crab lice, your body lice, and your head lice. Now the funny part is we're going to ignore the crab louse because it's a totally different genus. If you look at the body louse, or maybe I think it started with the head louse first. Somewhere along the line when we started making more clothes, these lice decided to separate themselves from another group of lice and live on the clothes because they figured they can get better access to, like, you know, the armpits and other body parts. So you have the head lice that primarily stay up here, and the body lice that go here. They even go down there, and all the other spots. But they've somehow co-evolved with human beings when we created clothes. So it's funny that that habitat you were talking about, the clothes are a habitat, and the lice decided to whatever trace they had was best for living on those clothes and being off from our blood. So now we used to just have the crab lice and the head lice. Now you got the crab lice, the body lice, and the head lice.
No, wait, I think, or I don't know, I saw this on Nova, I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly, that back when it was just like ape ancestors with like hair all over them,
Yeah.
there was just one type of lice that covered the whole body.
Mm.
And then
It might have been body then.
when the hair started receding,
Mhm.
there was one group for the head and one group for the body, and they evolved separately. And there's probably clothes involved too. I'm not sure when that happened.
They can start moving down again because now there is a new covering to live in.
Yep.
But the point was that they were using that on the show or they were using the genetic difference between the head lice and the body lice to determine exactly when the hair started receding from the whole body.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Interesting correlations, yeah.
Sometimes you find out more about other animals by looking at the animals that they interact with. A lot more. As a matter of fact, for a while, back when giant squid were thought to be cryptozoological animals that we talked about last time, most of what we knew about giant squid came from sperm whales. We would
Eats them.
Yep, we would have a dead sperm whale opening up, and
Not just by eating them, we could also tell.
Also, the show you were talking about is on Netflix apparently.
Noah?
You can also
That-
tell a
that
lot
particular
of
note
things
that
by
was on
like,
Netflix.
the damage that was being dealt to sperm whales, like
yeah,
sucker and beak marks
Mhm.
on them
yeah.
from the giant squid. So you can tell like this one was 80 feet long, like what I'm just throwing a random number
Yeah.
out because it did this much damage to this
Yeah, they
whale.
could use ratios from
Yeah.
that to like
Yep,
regular
exactly.
squids.
Wait, they didn't have like washed up corpses of
That's
squids?
yeah, that happened every now and then, but
But
like
they're so deep.
yeah,
That's very rare.
yeah.
Right,
And back
but
in
that's
the
once or
day,
twice.
like the thing would have rotted so quickly, like they wouldn't have had time to study it at all. Everyone
Like
just
a-
like you're full
like-
of crap.
Imagine a gigantic like dead mush surrounded by millions of fish.
Right.
It's just like
With
super
nothing
food.
protected
Or
but
like the hot
bush.
side.
I think the biggest
The
turn
only
point.
thing, like the only thing that would survive is the beak at that point, and even that would probably get eaten by something.
The whales will just swallow them whole. They don't care. But I think the biggest turning point for evolution, in my opinion, I could be wrong, is when oxygen first came on the scene. I think
Oh, I
That's,
love
that's
that.
the
Cambrian explosion.
Cambrian, yeah.
Yep.
Because
A period of 2 million years.
What was it about? Was it about 3.5 million years that life?
3.5 billion?
And oxygen hit about
Like a billion years later, I think.
about 2.
No, like,
I get my numbers a little skewed.
I
Like-
have no idea.
man, that was evolution class. We should know this.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to remember all those numbers, but I know it was about a billion years after the first.
the
life
specific
form.
time frame.
There was an enormous period of time where there was only single-celled organisms
It
there.
was 3 billion years ago, right? 3.6 billion.
Yeah, about 3.6 was the first life, about 3.5, 3.6, and the oxygen came on the scene around
2 billion.
2 billion.
2.7.
Yeah, cyanobacteria, they started actually photosynthesizing, creating the oxygen, and all of a sudden,
oxygen was
boom, all these
Because
organisms.
oxygen was easier to use, I guess.
It's
Yeah,
jet
yeah,
fuel
it's
for
like
biological
36
functions.
times
At least
easier, right?
the biology that we know.
Yeah.
Because there are life forms that don't use oxygen.
Yes, but they're tiny one-celled organisms and they never advance past that.
And they've never seen the sun, probably.
What about like the sulfur-based life forms?
Yeah, so I'm talking about the
We've
deep sea
never seen
vents.
the sun.
Those are the archaeans.
Yeah, but those are like
Those are ancient,
yes,
and
but
they haven't changed
Hold
since
on,
being
wait,
ancient.
but
what
they're
about
like-
plants? Aren't they in this group too?
yes, but
But plants do use oxygen.
No, they don't.
yeah, they create it. It's still a necessary
Sorry.
part of their function.
No, but don't they use
Right,
oxygen
but
to?
so did the
for
things
respiration?
before 3 billion years ago. They don't. No, they don't. They breathe out oxygen.
Yeah, but they still
Yes,
have
but
cellular
carbon
respiration
dioxide still
occurring.
requires oxygen to be there.
Yeah.
Because the oxygen, because you know oxygen can attach.
Plants still have to undergo cellular respiration no
Yeah.
matter what because they need to, even though they're making glucose and all that stuff, they need to be able to break it down to rebuild.
But they don't need oxygen for that.
Yeah,
They do.
Yes, they do.
Cellular
That's
respiration
why
doesn't happen
they
without
just-
So this
oxygen.
is why
they just
plants
get
are
their-
better than people.
They just get their
They
oxygen
can
from
create their
carbon
sugar and then
dioxide.
use that sugar later.
I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah,
Hey, do you
they
want me to
use
pull
the carbon
something up?
dioxide to get the oxygen from that.
Biologists,
Wait,
Sure,
why would
mobilize.
they
I
have no
can.
oxygen?
Because they produce because they need it to work, but then once they do, they're just like, okay, I've got my oxygen.
Because
Go
plants,
away
because
now.
plants aren't the only source of oxygen. You also have photosynthetic bacteria, archaeans,
So
and I do believe some protozoans are photosynthetic too.
So wait, the photosynthesis that the things used before 3 billion years ago that put all this oxygen here, that's not the same as the photosynthesis that plants use now.
What had happened was you had
I doubt it, but I don't actually know what they were doing back then.
But more than that, the explosion of oxygen allowed other forms of cellular respiration to be formed, which allowed more life to start going, and they
Right.
allowed more plants to get.
eventually
to start
plants
forming.
did show
Like-
up.
Because they still
Like
need
think
oxygen.
about it this way: if you have like an extremely simple structure that all it can do is photosynthesis, it makes little sugars, then it goes, I have sugars, I'm gonna use these,
Yep.
and then that's basically
To
it.
grow.
They don't get bigger than little colonies.
I think
With
wait,
oxygen, with the input of oxygen, they can integrate other systems.
So
like
now,
Well,
like bees, I guess.
mitochondria.
So wait, there weren't plants before.
no, it was
not
literally
this time
just
period. There was
cyanobacteria.
there was soup.
It was just
Alright,
a little.
because I know that oxygen is completely necessary to do things like this,
But
but
For
I don't
folks
know,
like us, but not for like archaeans.
But plants don't move. They don't have
that's not true.
some plants.
They move in a different manner. Let's put that.
Plants aren't like
Yeah, they're not doing this.
yeah, they don't
Okay.
move
They're
for a
not
living.
walking around.
So
No.
that,
Yeah.
I mean, so they require seriously less energy.
Yes, but they
They
also
still
much less
require
capable.
energy.
Of course they do.
You
So
also-
those things 3 billion years
You also
ago.
gotta remember, a
There
lot
was
of
no
this stuff came from the water.
But they
Plants
had
were one of the
different
first organisms, were one of the first multicellular organisms to colonize.
Oh, we're
the
being
land.
stupid.
What?
They produce the energy they need through fermentation.
Plants?
No, it's cyanobacteria.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
don't
it's
use
anaerobic.
they don't use normal cellular respiration. They
Oh,
I
use
thought we were still
they
talking
use
about plants.
they use anaerobic respiration.
He was
Silly
he was
biology.
talking-
Yes, but it's much more difficult to use anaerobic respiration.
No, it's
Technically,
incredibly easy. It's just energy.
It's very
dependent.
simple.
yes, like humans, we do anaerobic respiration. That's what causes like muscle fatigue, like when your muscles burn.
Lactic acid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's your body using anaerobic respiration
But you
and
get a
producing
lot
lactic
less.
acid because of it. It's efficient. You just have to do a lot to make it work.
Well,
You only get 4 ATP out of anaerobic, while you get like 36 out of aerobic.
Yeah.
That's basically the best comparison. Now that you have oxygen, you have a gigantic energy.
yeah, you have,
It's like I have to work
9 times.
so hard to do
And how did
anything
we
with
all
anaerobic.
forget anaerobic respiration?
I thought we were
didn't.
still talking about
Yeah, we're.
Well, cause we had to backtrack a little bit because we had to figure out how the plants
Okay, we might want to move on, but I want to say that like I haven't seen this sort of thing since 7th grade, but I really don't believe you that plants take in carbon dioxide to use oxygen from.
No, they don't get the oxygen from the carbon dioxide though.
That's what he said. Isn't it?
Well,
No, you don't make oxygen from carbon
I
dioxide.
know.
No.
Well, yeah, they
Well,
do,
yes,
but then they
well.
spit it out.
Yes.
But you still have to have cellular respiration in order to make
Okay,
glucose.
so
and
cellular
everything else.
respiration is
You need
the
energy.
ability to break down the sugar into the energy that it stores.
Yeah.
They still
Okay,
use
so-
ATP. and
Which the
So-
result is oxygen.
Yes, they do use ATP, but they get it from photosynthesis,
Yes.
not
But
oxygen.
no, they use
They
carbon.
make glucose
Yes.
from
But
photosynthesis. They don't make.
no. Okay.
Energy.
The part that we're talking about though, they need carbon dioxide. Dioxide means it has to have oxygen in it.
Yeah.
If there's no carbon dioxide, you
Yeah,
need
there
the
was
oxygen.
carbon dioxide all the time anyway.
Yeah, there was always carbon dioxide.
So I don't
It's
know
more
what
stable
are
than
we
oxygen,
debating?
right?
I
Or
don't understand
something.
here.
No,
That
I know
plants
I
don't get
got
oxygen?
this, bro.
Okay.
Alright, bro.
Okay,
Well, I'm not
so
sure.
the cyanobacteria was able to take in the carbon dioxide and just kind of have the little bits of sugar, break them down if they needed them, and then they're all hunky-dory, anaerobic respiration.
Right.
Now with plants, you take in the carbon dioxide, you build up complex sugars, use them for structural things, but then you also use it for energy. When you break down glucose, or I guess a bigger sugar than glucose, no, actually yes, glucose. When you break down glucose for energy, it releases the stored energy you did through the photosynthesis. Photosynthesis does not produce that much energy. What produces the energy?
Plants don't have that much energy.
No, but yes, they do.
They have plenty. That's
They,
why
They have
they,
stored
they,
energy.
they produce the energy through cellular respiration, which is breaking the bonds that were created through photosynthesis.
So they use
But
photosynthesis.
here's how you do it.
Yeah.
You use sunlight.
Yeah.
Sunlight is the energy that you are storing in that sugar, effectively.
Yeah.
You get that?
Yeah, but what about oxygen?
They still.
Oxygen is a
I
product
know, but
of.
don't they still
right,
use
product.
the oxygen to
No,
perform
the
their
oxy-
respiration?
Okay,
process?
the oxygen is just an electron acceptor. So
The sugar is the oxygen in this case.
They use.
huh? No, you break down glucose into pyruvate. Pyruvate goes through the
I know the
cycle,
stupid citric
and
acid
then
cycle.
you have the ETC, the electron transport chain, which the oxygen is the electron acceptor. There's no
Oh,
other,
right, that
there's no
thing.
other
Yeah.
purpose for
So,
oxygen
yeah.
except to take those electrons.
So plants do still need the oxygen in
Man,
order to
why does it
perform
take
that
so much
process.
education to know how to do this
I don't
stuff?
think so.
Yeah.
Yes!
What?
So
You-
plants
you
do still
disagree?
need the
Oh,
oxygen.
no, here's-
to
No,
perform
but they create their
that-
own oxygen.
No, they
But
create
that
their
gets
own oxygen
released.
by breaking down the carbon dioxide.
It's like,
right?
okay,
And
do you know
that's what that
do you know
is.
the chemical formula of glucose?
Yeah.
It has oxygen in it.
So does carbon dioxide.
So does carbon dioxide. So does the structures needed for the electron transport chain. The oxygen that is needed to perform the respiration is in the electron transport chain. That's where it goes. It's an electron receptor.
Yeah.
That's
Basically,
what happens in us too.
Basically, they're breaking
Yeah,
bonds
so
and oxygen.
So the plants require that oxygen to perform that function.
Yeah. The same way that humans require carbon dioxide as part of our chain to exhale, right?
We create, well, no. That's a different process.
Of course, it's not just process, but
It's
the
not
same.
breaking down sugar. It's absorbing oxygen to help transport blood,
Yeah.
or to be transported in blood, so it can have
Okay, the
muscle
whole point of
reactions.
us taking
Lots of other
oxygen,
stuff happen in humans.
we take in oxygen so that we can do cellular respiration.
Yeah.
So we can use the oxygen as a final electron acceptor.
Yeah.
When it becomes the acceptor, the carbon is attached to it. And that carbon has to be expelled because we have no need for it,
Right.
which is why
So I
we
guess-
release carbon dioxide.
Wait, so the question is, do plants release both oxygen
Yeah.
and both carbon
Yeah,
dioxide?
they do minute quantities of both.
Even,
So that
even a
happens.
little bit of water.
Right. So
And
plants
water
don't
as
take
well.
in any oxygen.
They don't necessarily take in oxygen, but they do. It is produced within their systems.
Right. So
They-
could did any
basically-
plants evolve at all before the Cambrian explosion?
It's after.
Not, wait,
Because remember,
Yes.
remember, you had the protozoans in there
The-
first.
but they were
Protozoan
effectively
plants.
super clusters
Yeah, I know, but
of
plants
cyanide.
have an origin based on.
They look like giant mushrooms.
A lot of the multicellular organisms had to come from
Like
those protists. And remember, protists are this hodgepodge of organisms that we just can't really classify anywhere. So plants came somewhere, just like animals, they came somewhere from there. But like I said, the cells of the plants and the
Yeah.
animals.
Right. But what I'm asking is, why did the plants need to wait until there was all this oxygen and moving creatures came about before showing up? Couldn't they have just photosynthesized before that?
Well, the plants didn't really exist yet because we didn't really have land yet. But we had land, we just no one was on it.
Don't forget aquatic plants.
So what?
Well, yeah,
So, what,
we did
so
have aquatic
I guess
plants.
your question is, if like the Cambrian explosion caused a lot of like animals as we know them to be formed.
Plants were
Body
What was
already existing,
what was
but
what was
they
what
they
was
allowed
stopping?
animals to come about because
Yeah.
they released the oxygen, which
Yes.
the-
So, but
Okay.
what was holding the plants back from just evolving rapidly like that?
Well, not rapidly, but yes.
Well, it had to take. They had to take time in order to evolve. I mean, first remember we did
But
start.
they did, what I'm asking is, they didn't need the oxygen, right?
No, but plants
No,
are
plant-
generally fairly slow.
As far as we know,
to
plants have
advance
always
like
needed
that.
that.
No,
Yeah.
they're just as fast as everything else.
Well, then
they didn't necessarily need the oxygen. They did produce it though. As far as why they didn't just keep on evolving, I don't think there was enough like selection or pressure on them to evolve until the
It's like-
animals
yeah,
came about.
It's like before the basic animal structures, like the bilateral symmetry, the weird little walking thing.
The ability
Anyway.
to actually move.
Yeah.
But
Before that, they did have plants,
it's just
but
like
they were extremely
very
basic. They
simple.
were extremely basic. All they did was kind of waft in the stream.
Yeah.
and,
just
there
remember,
was-
everything
and-
has a protist root.
All right.
And in a way, there was very little pressure on them because it was just like we just exist here. You know, there's nothing
Nothing's-
happening,
nothing's
nothing's
eating
going
them.
on, nothing's
Yeah.
nothing's eating us, nothing's going on. It's just gonna happen. You know, we can do whatever we want. But then when other stuff started evolving, and that first thing was like
That put pressure.
nom nom, then it was like, oh shit.
Move to land where no one is.
Actually,
Yeah,
yes.
if
The first things on
so,
land
and-
were probably some like a rudimentary fungus.
So But
It was
anyway.
something that got stuck to a rock. Water never came back to it, and it was like, huh, I can do this.
Well, originally they just died horribly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but eventually.
Air is horrible.
Yes, but eventually one of them was
If
like,
you're just coming out
I
of
can
water.
actually do this. Okay, I'm here. I should make more of myself. Now they can do that.
I think
Now all of us can do that.
the only
I
reason
think
Now
I
we
think
have
where your
legs.
One
dilemma
percent
might
at
be.
a time.
I think where your dilemma might lie is where exactly did the plants come from? Where exactly did all these multicellular organisms come from?
Well, no.
And I mean because
Well,
somehow
can
you
he ask his question? What is your
Yeah.
question?
I only brought it up because someone said that before the Cambrian explosion there was only single-celled and small colonies of multicellular organisms, but there were also plants, right?
No. The plants
I mean-
were just those like multicellular colonies. It was essentially just a.
They were macroscopic at least, right?
I don't know.
They-
That's the thing.
Probably were.
not sure. And I mean if they were, they wouldn't fossilize very well.
And if
So-
anything,
Okay.
No, I mean like
if they were-
algae.
Yeah, and if anything,
Algae
if they
are
were
plants.
macroscopic, it's only because it was like they were growing
Because
in a
they-
pool of water.
But they
You
probably
see the
can't.
pool of water.
Why isn't anyone on Wikipedia just like
Already am.
Okay, yeah.
I have a whole note.
Okay, so algae scum probably formed around 1.2 billion years ago in the
Wow, that's not that long ago.
Ordovician period.
Ordovician.
Is that before
Or
Cambrian?
did
That's way after
Huh?
Cambrian,
Is that
right?
before Cambrian?
No, Ordovician.
Yeah, that's way
before.
after.
It's
What?
why-
That was before.
1 billion years ago?
No, the Ordovician period. Ordovician period is after Cambrian.
Yes, it's much after.
Okay.
Much after.
Good thing 1 billion is still less than 3 billion.
Yes.
But
sorry.
we have to remember that
If that was the
plant,
case, we have
every-
some other problems.
we can conclude that every plant and every animal that started colonizing the land still had that really tight tie with water.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they like the first plants, they had to have some way of storing that water to utilize it. I mean, besides the rain, of course. But of course, I mean, if they're coming out of the land, it didn't just jump millions of miles away, I mean, thousands of miles away here and just just landed up in the middle of the desert somewhere. No, it came from the water, and then they started spreading out. Same thing with animals.
Right, for the very first time, things need to drink.
Yeah. I mean, I could walk on land, but I still have this slight dependency on water. And eventually, then you have
70%
critters like
water.
us that can live far away from, well, not too far away from a water source. I mean,
Oh
think
my
about
god, I
most of
have the
our
evolution notes.
Wow.
think about most of our civilizations.
Okay,
are based
so
on
plant
water.
evolution is way
What's
way
the
more
survival
complicated
space
than we
around
thought
water?
that was.
Oh
My
yeah.
lack of marriage.
Yeah,
It's hard to
there's
explain
no-
nature.
Hmm?
Good luck explaining nature.
I know. It's complicated.
But see, these are
Evolution is complicated.
these are
Surprisingly enough, several college students don't know everything about it.
I'm
I'm
surprised.
an engineer.
I
I'm
don't
supposed to
know
know
a
jack
lot.
about it.
I'm legitimately surprised we made it this far.
I'm still
But we're
studying
still
it.
in the Cambrian explosion. We've got like a bajillion more years to cover.
But we've
Billion.
come.
And it-
Only like
nothing
2-3
important.
million.
No,
Important having
but
We
that
have
system.
so much coverage to
honestly,
spend
though,
up 8
considering,
minutes.
considering like what we've actually covered in this period, it's pretty impressive.
Here, I'll make a big jump. I'm going to ask you a really weird question, which may confuse a lot of the viewers and stuff. Of these 4 animals, which of these are considered phylogenetically, that means if you look at a family tree over the years,
Sharks.
are considered to be a fish?
What?
A worm? A jellyfish? A hamster? Or a sea cucumber? Which of those are
Sea
actually
cucumber.
A
fish?
hamster.
The worm.
A hamster.
Hamster.
What?
A hamster.
How the hell is that
From a
possible?
worm to a
Wait,
sea
no,
cucumber?
listen to
jellyfish?
this. Listen to this mini
I think
lecture.
I think I know why.
No, I
This is-
understand. I
this is
understand
gonna
the
be
word
bizarre.
sea cucumber. And
Well, let's kind of look at what similarities do the worm, the jellyfish, and the starfish have?
It's not a
Starfish?
sea cucumber.
I mean, sea cucumber. I'm sorry, but they're related to.
Yeah, they have very little in common with fish. They're not.
They have no eyes.
Besides,
I mean, all fish have eyes.
one major,
no,
one
all
major
fish
thing
do
that
not.
separates a lot of it.
Most fish.
It's the symmetry,
That's one.
body plan,
That's another one.
isolated organs.
Move your hand from your mouth.
I was thinking of vertebrae. I was definitely thinking of that.
Also that.
the notochord. Yeah.
Stop
Well,
feeling
you-
understanding.
Wait. Well,
Hey,
why
you
is a
did-
hamster a
you did-
fish?
You did not say which one was most closely associated with a fish. You said which one was.
Which one is phylogenetically
Yes, it
considered
is a fish.
It is. Wanna know how?
Phylogenetically.
How?
If you look backwards. Actually, no. I'm gonna
Wait.
go all the way to the fish.
I wanted to give the cladistic lesson.
No.
I could have a really bad
No.
explanation in like 5 words.
All right.
This is weird. No, go
I'm sorry. I just
There's a
love
lot of evidence.
I really like cladistics.
I love it.
What
Okay.
is that?
Thank you for asking.
What is cladistic?
Okay, have you ever seen an evolutionary tree that kind of shows
No.
like this? Okay, then an evolutionary tree. If you have like this is the beginning of life, and then it branches off into the first 2 little things. This evolved, and then this evolved, and this evolved again, and it keeps forking off and off until eventually you see humans all the way over here. That's the
Have you
that's
seen
a tree
apes?
of life. Yeah, you could have a tree of apes. You could have a tree of anything.
But
every time it
humans are
branches-
at the top of the tree of apes, right?
No.
No, there is no real top.
There's no top of anything. We just diversified at some
The
point.
top is like the
From
present,
the-
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
the
whatever
top
is
of
here
the
right
top
now.
of the evolutionary tree is what is
Are we
alive
allowed
right
to
now.
use- Are we allowed to use that?
Lose one.
Use that. The board.
Trash can?
No, the board thingy.
No, we're not.
We're not.
I don't actually know what that's there for.
Okay,
It's
so-
forever.
But
Like,
how
I'm
are
thinking about the
hamsters fish?
explanation.
Now here let's start at the beginning. We'll see like here's the
Yeah,
little tiny bacteria that first evolved. They diversified into a few other things, and eventually you'll see we'll have fish. Fish were relatively early evolutionarily in time. But then you see it forks off into amphibians. And there's amphibians fork off, and then the fish continue, and then eventually you get lizards fork off the amphibians. And then from the lizards, it forks off into mammals, birds, and more lizards.
Okay, so
Now here's how cladistics work in this fashion. Every time that there's a clade is like a fork in whatever. You are part of every single clade that goes. Guys, stop talking when I'm talking.
I can't understand anything as is.
Every time you fork off, you are part of the group that you forked off from.
Oh, really?
like
So we are fish, we are lizards, we are amphibians, we
But
are
not modern ones.
Really?
yes, we are
It's like-
genetically
it's
part of
like-
that group.
Oh, so okay, so it's
Okay, we're not amphibians.
And it-
okay,
But-
so
Actually, we
it's
are.
like a
Well,
cascade.
yes, we are. Like
Okay.
the first rudimentary amphibians
Alright.
lizards came from.
So it's a cascading effect. We
Right.
are everything. We are ourselves as well as
Attention.
everything along the line that we came from all the way
Yeah.
back.
So the original couple forks, we're not off that side. So we're not a starfish,
Right, but
Oh.
but we share a common
Because it
ancestor.
depends on where you
Yeah.
fall.
So we're not okay. So that makes much more sense. I don't like the system, but I understand it. And
Yeah.
accept
And
it.
now
Better way-
a great book to read is Your Inner
You're a
Fish.
fish.
By Neil Schumann.
I think a better way, or not a better way to look at it, but like a easier to understand way to look at it is that, like, for instance, we're mammals because we're descended from mammals, and back when the first mammal showed up, everything that possibly branched off of it is also a mammal. And and similarly, we're vertebrates because when there was the first vertebrate, everything that branched off from it was
Yeah,
also
I
a
understand it.
and so
And everything that was
fish.
before it, there
And
couldn't
so
have been
for-
anything before it other than like the lizard parent
Yeah,
or whatever.
Right.
it came from.
I understand.
Whatever.
It's still bizarre.
So am I?
So how is
correct?
a hamster closer to a fish?
No,
Because the
You're
hamster
right.
is descended
Wait,
from
wait,
fish,
one at a time,
whereas
guys.
worms
One
and
at a time.
sea cucumbers aren't.
You talk louder.
Okay. Hamsters are technically fish, while sea cucumbers and worms and jellyfish aren't, because hamsters are descended from fish, whereas the other three branched off before fish even existed.
It's
So
like-
it's like.
Can I explain it a different way?
No, if I may. Okay. So you
I've
have.
got this really good.
So you have
Tree of Life thing. Have you seen this one?
you have animal
I got
A.
a better one.
You have animal A, the first animal, the first thing in existence. Now you have animals B1 and B2.
And I get the whole cladistic thingy.
Yeah. So
How
the
does-
idea
No,
is.
let's hear his actual question.
How does hamster branch off from fish and the other things don't?
Oh,
I
because
got
no.
Can we use that
I got this
goddamn
one, please.
No.
Okay. So when when things were splitting off, when fish first formed, the lines of evolution that
You
created
can't. You don't overlap.
worms,
And if you don't-
sea cucumbers, and jellyfish, those had already broken away. So by the time the very first fish evolved, all those other lines had already broken away. So
Gosh,
yeah. So what?
now I get it.
So the fish eventually led to the hamster, but the fish
There's the first fish.
can.
Everything over here is a fish.
Oh, visual aids.
Exactly.
Embrace your inner fish.
Hey, he got it before the visual
He
aid.
got it.
This is just helping.
And then and some people might be like, oh, well, that's a bunch of bugs. You guys weren't there back then. I was like, this is the strongest. I would call it theory. This is the strongest theory we have. Unless, yeah, as far as like where
Oh yeah,
everything came
this
from.
is where the most exciting thing happens.
Okay.
Guys, when you actually look at a cladistic map of heredity, it overlays perfectly with the fossil record. It overlays perfectly with genetics. It overlays perfectly with just our tracking backwards of lineages.
Chemistry,
It's like chemistry, like
physics.
What are you referring to?
Like, if you
if you
overlay
have a
different-
tree of life and you literally just overlay the places where the animals would be genetically related to each other, they're exactly the same. When you overlay the fossil record, they're exactly the same. This is one of the most comprehensive and sophisticated method of verifying that evolution is happening, has happened, and continues to happen.
Now, if somebody can find something different,
Speaking of which, I think this would be a good time to bring up the questions you were talking about before. Like,
Do we want to spend the last 15 minutes debunking creationist thoughts?
Sure.
Why not?
Oh, hey.
Creationists can go fight me.
One thing I wanted to talk about.
wait, chicken and the egg.
Behavior.
The chicken and the egg. Who's supposed to
No.
bring that up?
That's not even a question.
Yes,
that's not even a
Who
question.
came first?
The egg came
The
first.
answer is the egg
Why?
came first.
Okay, there you go. Why did the egg come first?
It has to be something
No,
that starts it.
No. This is one that I like to explain. The egg.
You already had a turn. You go.
Aw.
I
But
think the
why
egg
did the
came,
egg?
egg came first because that's probably what started it all to begin with.
But
Right?
then where did the effing
No.
egg come from?
Yeah, then where did the egg come
Yeah.
from?
Something probably evolved into an egg and then
You can't
Something
evolve
evolved into
No. The idea behind
Read more books.
The idea behind
Read
this
Your
one is the
Inner Fish by Neil Schumann.
The idea behind
No.
this one is the misconception of how species are created.
I taught him this.
Yeah, you did. You didn't teach me this, but you helped me to understand it better.
Understand it.
Certainly, and I'm
Got it.
thankful for that.
He's a liar.
No, I'm not.
Everyone's alive.
Go ahead, Colby.
The idea is that most people, when you think about like a species, most people who don't understand evolution go, oh, this is one species, this is another. The species is the same until it becomes something else. That's not how
So species are different,
exact.
like families.
Okay, but the idea that like a dog is a dog, and that dog, if evolution was true, that dog would be a dog until all of a sudden it was a saber-toothed moose lion.
That doesn't happen.
That'd
Yes,
be awesome.
exactly. But that
Saber-tooth
is what people who don't know about evolution think. They think that, oh, a new species is all of a sudden this thing gives birth to another species.
That's
all
what
of a sudden.
they think evolutionists think.
That's
Yeah.
that's what they
That's
think
what people
evolution.
think.
That's what people who
Meta
don't
thinking.
understand evolution think evolution means.
Right.
When in all honesty, everything that is in existence is the next stage. The biggest question is
We're all mutants.
people who
Oh,
people who oppose
Yeah, you mean-
evolution ask for like what was it?
Evidence?
No, like a
I
connected.
wish.
What was the name of
Surprisingly,
the
no.
like the connected species? It was like a
Can someone comment on this?
Ring species?
no. Can't remember the word that they used. Like essentially transitional species.
Like
Uh,
what was
transitional
before-
form,
what
yeah.
was before us.
Yeah, like what was between this species and this species? And the answer is everything in existence is a transitional species. I am a transitional species between my parents and the children that I might have someday. My parents were a transitional species between me and my grandparents.
It's a chain.
Everything is a transitional species. The idea of species is a very difficult, complex, and obnoxious term that really is just something that we use to try to better understand biology. Biology doesn't care about species, really.
Right. Yeah, people think that different species is binary. It's like the same species or not
Exactly.
same species, or it's actually a continuum or like a
Exactly.
Here's
graph of
the
similarity and reading capability.
dilemma is, first off, we don't have time travel, and secondly, because everything is a transitional form, you have to.
We need a doctor.
There's a threshold somewhere, as far as where do you separate the chicken from its ancestor?
Exactly.
Like, I can't go
All
back
the way
1
back to
million
the
years.
T-Rex.
Huh?
No, see,
Oh,
the,
exactly.
no, see, the
Yeah.
idea is enough stages or what is the
Different
yes
separations?
iterations is going. Enough iterations of the species have happened, like enough children have been born, then born again, then born again, then born again, and kept going. That all the previous ones are dead now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
So
like
that there's enough change that if your ancestor was alive, then we just be like, what the hell is this thing?
yes.
Because
It's the idea.
It's all about
the
breeding,
idea
right?
that like
That's
yes,
the basis of species.
it's like
Generally,
the idea is that yes,
there are
at some at some
competitions.
point,
Yes.
at some point there was the first animal that we would consider a chicken that would be able to breed with the chickens that we have nowadays.
But if you went back like 10,000 years, that animal that doesn't
Yeah.
look like a chicken would probably still breed with our chickens.
Exactly. But like that, but
But then
that's
you're
the idea
right,
that
you're
yes, there was
dinosaurs.
at some point a single creature that was a chicken. But then that creature bred and produced several young. Those young produced several more young. They were able to breed with animals that wouldn't technically be chickens, but that eventually were chickens. It's a very difficult and complex
Which in reality,
idea.
Do we know
the
which
chicken and
species
the egg
are-
question is actually a ridiculous question.
Yeah.
Or if ring species, do we know what those are? Do you?
Those,
No.
Off the top of my
we
head.
did go over those a while back.
They
Well, I
illustrate
don't
the point
remember.
very, very clearly. You can have and this is like totally observed. You can have a species that's it starts out as one, family group. They can all interbreed with each other. Then something causes the group to split in two, like going across the canyon different ways.
Like the squirrels.
Yeah, squirrels, lizards. It's all been observed. So what happens is they start to evolve independently of each other, and eventually they get to a point where the ones who have evolved the farthest on one side and the ones who evolved the farthest on the other side can't interbreed with each other, which means that they're different species.
Yeah. But sometimes the less evolved ones are still able to interbreed.
Well, that's the thing is that I could really use a visual aid. like the
I'll bring in a visual aid later.
okay, so you got this.
Bring in a
It
whiteboard
starts at the
next
top
time.
and then it goes like this.
Yeah.
Like a
We
U.
need a
You
whiteboard.
need one of those
So
things.
so these two can't
Exactly.
interbreed,
Yeah.
but this one and the one just above it, they can interbreed.
Yeah.
And those can interbreed with these, and these
Yeah.
can interbreed with those. So they can all sort of interbreed with each other,
Yeah.
but they can't interbreed from edge to edge.
From the edge directly to each other.
So that would seem to suggest that they're the same species, but they're also not the same species.
Exactly.
Which shows exactly why the term species isn't an
It's
exact
very
thing.
fuzzy. And you want an example? I actually own.
I never
I
used the word
actually own
species.
examples.
Yeah.
Snakes. King snakes are a pain in the butt. The reason why I say that is because if you go everywhere in the United States, you'll see Eastern king snakes, you'll see Pueblo milk snakes, Mexican king snakes, common king snakes, Florida king snakes, whatever. Now, because they're so far away from each other, a lot of these snakes cannot interbreed with one another. And even if they do, occur sympatrically, sometimes they won't breed. But occasionally, you get that one oddball snake, that one Florida king snake that looks at this Eastern king snake that goes, I want to mate with that snake. And all of a sudden, you have hybrids. So it makes you wonder, like, we consider these
Are they
snakes.
fertile hybrids?
Huh?
Are they fertile?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Actually, in the herpetology hobby, which I'm part of, some people actually do manage to breed different species of king snake together. It's usually not looked highly upon because people want to have purebred snakes, so to speak. But you can actually do it. In fact, somebody actually managed to breed a corn snake with a king snake, and we consider those to be different species, even different genus, as on the phylogeny. But so speciation is
I wonder how
very
many-
complex.
I wonder how many like miscarriages that had to go through.
But it's the same idea. It's the
Or
same
whatever.
idea behind people who do flower interbreeding. You know, sometimes you have the most bizarre intermixing of different species of flower, and like this flower can't breed with this one, but it can breed with this one, and now this one can breed, and now this other one can breed. Go ahead.
Veto.
You want some on that?
We veto.
No, actually, this is just an interesting question that Chaz brought up a little while ago.
Okay.
How, like, are we good just kind of diverging suddenly?
Yeah.
Why not?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
We reached a pretty stable point.
Religion that evolved.
How did animals evolve from the point where eggs develop on the outside of their bodies to the inside of their bodies?
Was it first on the inside, then the outside?
No, wasn't it first?
No.
Wait,
Normal-
is that
like-
what he said?
The first like egg was literally just a bifurcation of the cell, like splitting
Yeah,
into
and
another
then
cell,
they-
which means it was outside.
And then a lot, you know, like how fish reproduce. It's just let's spray stuff everywhere and hope they meet at some point.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean,
then,
there's a certain level of
Yes, but still,
Interaction.
but at the same that
No, you
same time,
see,
that
with-
is still an egg.
So we're
Yeah.
gonna look at it from a vertebrate point of view or an invertebrate point
I
of
think
view?
we're going from vertebrate point of view, like
Well-
referring to mammals.
well,
Like
here-
why do mammals do it on the
Well,
inside?
here's one of
We
the
gotta
big.
look at fish
well,
first.
There's two big reasons for that. One of them, many.
But are we
species-
asking why or how? Because those are two
Oh,
very
yeah.
different.
There is no,
Sorry.
like, why is a lot more complicated.
Well, one.
We have to know
well,
the
there's-
environmental pressures requiring that to happen.
One of the easiest ones is simply the basic environment. Things that have to be in water or things that have to fly tend to lay eggs because carrying a bunch of eggs around in you while they're
Energetically
gestating
expensive.
is energetically expensive, and you need to be light in order to fly and swim. It's much more difficult with lots and lots of eggs inside of it.
I
So
disagree,
One question that might
because
be
there are
important-
plenty of animals that are able to do that just fine.
One question that might be
Give
important.
me, give a bird.
But for the most
Give a bird.
You want to make a point.
Yes.
One question that might
Birds,
be important.
maybe
I have
not.
no idea what the answer is, but
Go ahead.
when did the first like gestation live young type of thing happen?
Still have to look at fish.
I think it went to lizards. Because
Well,
one of the big reasons you had
Let's
to
talk
do
about
it on,
methods of reproduction.
no, like you had to do it on the inside.
You
You
got
have to do it on the
oviparity.
inside.
You got oviparity.
No, but the reasoning is like air is bad for eggs.
Until they got
Oxidation.
big hard shells.
Yeah, until they got the hard shells. But before that, you see frog eggs. They're just gels surrounding.
Amniotes and non-amniotes.
Yes. So
Headache.
Should we talk
Evolutionary
louder?
headache.
okay, so Chaz is asking lizards.
amniotes.
The reason I mentioned lizards is because part of your question was mammals. Like, are there other animals that have eggs that stay inside them? Yes. There are some fish that do it. The one that jumps to mind are seahorses
Sharks.
and some kinds of sharks. And there are also lizards that do that. they store the eggs inside of them until they develop, and then they give birth to live young.
Isn't it like the female seahorse lays eggs inside the male seahorse until they...
Yes.
It protects them. Like it's a protect, like one of the
That's a
biggest.
weird example.
I wouldn't call that the same thing, but okay.
Well, no, I understand. Like the same thing with certain kinds of large
It's
large
still
lizards.
laying eggs.
They lay the eggs. They just store them in the inside of people.
You have
The
three.
inside of them.
Yeah, I would want that.
Yeah.
That way they can develop in safety.
Basically, you have three.
Inside
We have
people?
for the benefit of the internet.
Shut up.
For the benefit of the internet, we have three major reproductive modes. We have oviparity, which is where they lay the eggs on the outside of the body. You have viviparity, where you just give birth to live young. You just have the egg and the sperm. They form the actual embryo or fetus, and then it is born. And you have ovoviviparity, which kind of somewhat combines the two. It's not really true. They don't really combine the two, but it's like
Yes,
they lay the egg
No.
inside the body, inside of a urine-like structure, and then they hatch inside the body, and then
They're
they're born.
He's a biologist.
But
Are you a biologist?
Wait, are those the three primary forms of
Sorry.
Those are three that I know
what am I trying to think of?
of birth.
Non-abiotic reproduction.
Oh,
It's creepy.
Biogenesis?
Like
of sexual reproduction, yes.
Okay,
Of sexual
sexual.
reproduction, those are the
Oh.
three methods. There's different variations of them, but those
We're
are the
not,
three.
we're going to stick with sexual reproduction for the time being.
Yeah, yeah.
Because asexual is a whole
And
other
you
can of
can
worms.
you can even
Literally.
Eggs.
you can even witness this in insects also. Like certain insects, I believe the tsetse fly is a weird example where
African sleeping sickness.
well not
What?
that it's just that
It carries harm.
it being a fly, it does
Okay.
lay eggs, but this particular species of fly has like okay, I'm putting quotes on it, a uterus. It's not a uterus in the mammalian sense, but it's analogous to a uterus. And it actually lays its eggs inside of his body, and they hatch in the larvae. And it actually keeps the larvae inside of his body until a certain point in time where it expels the larvae, and the larvae pupate. You know, they go into a cocoon somewhat immediately, and then become adults. So you have reproductive methods like that. Or aphids. Some aphids actually clone themselves. They'll just give birth to live young. They'll just create little miniature versions of themselves, or they'll just mate with another aphid and then lay eggs.
Depending on
Aphids are
whatever
weird.
pressure's on them.
They're
Biology, guys.
aphids are
Biology.
extremely
Biology
bizarre.
is a dynamic study.
Do it.
Nothing is the same.
And I can
Everything
see
is
why a
very
lot
weird.
of people,
Everything
especially in America,
changes.
subscribe to the creation theory, because it's just as easy to say, God did it, and be done with it. And you
That's
see-
just stupid.
But well, I would just say it's boring.
I would say it's
Just
stupid.
say poof. That's just, where's the
It
fun
has-
in
it
that?
has
Just
no-
say poof.
It has no explanatory value.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's a poof thing, why does the poofs keep happening? I don't think like random animals.
Oh well, then we start getting into the
Debunking the creation.
no, then we get
We don't want to get too
no
far.
we get into the what is it? It's the
Why do we make them?
No,
Why
it-
do we
no,
make
it's because God dictates you to.
Poof.
But it's the what is it? The God-driven evolution, where where the God figure just kind of steps in and puts in little bits that couldn't have evolved naturally.
The clock. What's it called? The clockwork.
The deist clock.
Yeah, the
figure.
deist. It's like God created everything, and he just stepped back and let it take.
And
Well,
never
no.
ever came back again.
Well, that's a different from what you were just
Yeah,
saying.
there's a lot of different ways that the creationists kind of come up with how
Although
life
it's
began.
all directed straight towards making humans, which
Yep.
is like really.
We are so assholes.
We are egocentric bastards.
But we're not even a speck of the universe. We're like a speck of a speck
Oh,
of
yeah,
a
let me see
speck of a
this.
speck of the universe.
All right, I doubt you internet people can actually see this, but
Oh,
like
no
here,
way.
if this little circle is the entirety of life, and
That's
you
right now.
you
The
magnify
entire tree of like right now.
right now that we understand. If you take out a tiny little sliver
It's
from
about that big.
like a sliver about that big, and then super magnify it, we're right there.
It's
We are-
still
we are-
small.
We are that
There's
dot.
no way.
We
We
are-
are that dot.
You can never
on the
see it.
tree.
It's good that they can't see it because that gives a good analogy. We are that minuscule as far as the whole scheme of things.
Well,
I can barely see it,
I'll
and I'm right
post it.
here.
Can we post it
And
on
that's
the website?
Earth.
Yeah.
And you were
Okay,
talking
we'll
about the
post it on the
universe.
Yeah,
website
we'll post it.
together.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but that's when and then people start going in the Big Bang Theory. We're not going to go to.
I love the Big Bang
all-
Theory. It's such a good TV
No.
show.
No,
I
No.
just finished watching all of it.
no,
No.
no.
So good.
Stop. back in biology.
That's a cold science.
They're physicists.
Screw physics.
It drives life.
But Chaz,
So they say.
but Chaz, I
But
hope
it
that
does.
Chaz, I hope that someone answered your question. But just to let you know that a lot of those, if you notice, like your fish and amphibians, they were what they call non-amniotic. They didn't have that protective shell. They didn't have those different layers surrounding the embryo to protect it. They had to be laid in the water. And they developed that way. And then I believe reptiles were the first, what we would call amnios, where they have the leathery or the hard shelled eggs. And then that's where your birds derive from. And then you had the different reproductive methods with the most of the mammals, except for monotremes, which monotremes are mammals that lay eggs.
Chaz says that makes sense. Move on to new questions.
Excellent.
Thank you for bearing with us,
Creationism.
Chaz. Let's go to creationism. Hooray! Now, Chaz, I'm actually clicking away from the chat, so I don't know if you'll be able to say stuff. But go crazy, because she might be able to.
Yeah, I got it up, but I don't know if I can see the stuff.
Okay, so I am looking at a website called talkorigins.com. I highly recommend this to anybody watching and all of you guys. If you have talkorigins.com, if you have any questions about anything related to I guess not really,
Origins
like
of
the
the universe, origins of humans, origins of life.
origins of anything, and it's
Sure.
huge on.
Origins of Nutella, best thing ever invented.
No, like it's a huge website for like the creationism, evolution, atheism controversies that keep popping up. They expressly cater to that sort of stuff.
Is this a lifetime? I don't know if I'm...
Oh, it's like
No,
at
it's
least
not.
10 seconds behind.
No,
No,
I'm
my-
not talking about the...
No, my chat, yeah, there's a lot more.
Should I refresh it?
No.
That's rough.
Oops, I refreshed it.
Isn't
Well,
evolution
it's
just
over.
okay? So now I'm looking at frequently asked questions from creationists to evolutionists.
This really okay.
What?
I like.
Do you want another topic?
No,
I don't know. I thought. Were
Continue.
there other questions like by actual viewers?
No.
that's
Continue.
he answered it for him.
Yeah,
Continue
Chaz,
with the
Chaz,
creationism.
Think of more questions, Chaz. Go for it.
Debunk
I can't
creationism.
see it. I don't know what's going on.
Well, for debunking creationism, is that what we're doing now?
Well, that's what you were about to read, weren't you?
I'm just gonna go through a few basic things. Like, don't you have to be an atheist to accept evolution?
No.
I say no. You don't technically need to.
Doesn't the Pope
People in this
accept
room
evolution?
Yes.
Oh, because atheism
Evolution.
answers one question.
Yeah. Atheism is just about do you believe that God exists? If you say yes, you are some kind of theist. If you give any other answer, then you're an atheist. So that has nothing at all to do with the scientific process or evolution or anything. I would add, though, that if you adhere to really specific things like hardcore Christianity or Islam or Judaism, just those three in particular, it's really hard to reconcile evolution with those beliefs. But that's
No,
a
it
personal
isn't.
thing, and that's not.
Well, not if you really think about it very much.
No, it also depends on how fundamental you go. Never mind.
Pretty much.
It depends on how crazy you are.
No.
You know what'd be crazy? It's called compartmentalization. As long as you never let science affect your spiritual beliefs, then you're fine.
Al-Haytham was a scientist and a Muslim. But Al-Haytham, he was one of the few Muslim scientists that actually studied ophthalmology. In fact, a lot of our studies are based off of what he
When was
ophthalmology, the study of eyes and sight.
Oh, I say ophthalmology.
And he also helped create the camera.
when was this?
It's ophthalmology.
We are.
Because like the only thing I know
Yeah,
about
really.
this
Thousands of years ago.
The only
Yeah,
thing I know about
we've
this
been over
subject-
time, so I'm going to stop at 7:30, so we got 10 minutes.
The only thing I know about that subject is that Islam used to have all these great scientific things, and then something bad happened, and it stopped.
Yes.
Fundamentalism rose to power.
Yeah, which is weird for that to happen like after the founding, but whatever.
Yeah, like in the Quran and stuff, like knowledge and wisdom is highly,
Valued.
yeah, like, and they're saying you should go out there, you should learn the sciences, you should learn a lot of stuff. Having knowledge
But it's
is
so
very
much easier
important.
to ignore those passages and go straight for the head chopping.
It is.
Because people are idiots.
Ayaka.
They specifically don't want to think. They go to religion so they don't have to. And a religion that tells you to think, you can just
been
ignore
given a
those.
brain.
That's how we
A
become
brain
Christian.
has evolved for use.
Exactly.
I
Like
was
even,
given a brain by my parents.
even from it, like a Christian standpoint, you're like, or a Muslim standpoint, or any kind of religious
People
standpoint,
go to
you
school.
have this brain for a damn reason. Use it the best you can.
But if you go from a religious standpoint, a lot of times they say no. You're not.
Satan gave you that brain.
You're only supposed to use that brain to worship God.
Screw that.
I
But
agree.
knowledge is worship. The gaining of knowledge is a form of worship.
Then I go so much with what the Pope says. This is a representation of crazy people. What was it? The moment that the Pope got off the plane in America, the most recent time that he ever came here. I could be wrong on the exact time this happened.
Did he actually play?
The first thing that he said while getting off the plane wasn't anything positive. It was all about the dangers of secularism. It's just like, above all else, you must be like hate and fear people that do not believe what you believe.
That
And
is
you should
terrible.
put all of your energy into in your beliefs.
Into me.
Or a huge vein actually in Christianity is the rejection of worldly knowledge. Is the idea that you should expressly not believe things that make sense because those things aren't of God. They are logic, and logic will distract you
Thank
from
God
the
for the
truth of
Enlightenment.
God.
Because we
Why
ate
not?
that tree, so we should have done that.
We ate him?
Doesn't the perfection of the human body prove creation?
But
No.
Your body
Wait,
is
wait.
Let me get it.
You
What?
first.
Okay, the human body sucks ass. It really does.
Language. We don't want people to know that butts exist.
The human body is not very well evolutionized. Can I say that?
Yes.
That was barely a sentence.
Okay, whatever. I really don't care. But if you look at how we're designed, we're not designed to be bipedal animals. We're designed to be quadrupeds.
Quadrupedal.
Thank you. Quadrupeds. Not gonna work.
It's okay. It's because you're done.
I can't.
Anyway,
I
we're
don't-
supposed to be quadrupeds. The way our body is arranged and aligned, that's why so many people have knee, back, and hip problems. Because we're not supposed to have our weight being supported by our knees, our hips,
Well,
and
be
our
careful.
pelvis.
You're not supposed to. You can't say supposed to, because we're not supposed to do anything. Like, the positions we have are evolutionarily advantageous.
No, they're not.
Yes.
They
No,
make us
aren't.
good at surviving and making lots of babies.
and running.
And make us good at shooting other
the problem
things.
is-
It
to
would
make
be
us live
better
longer.
if we were
Guys?
quadriceps.
Not necessarily,
we
because
just
now
haven't evolved.
we were
One at a
gigantic
time, guys.
muscles.
One at a time.
If we were quadriceps, we would not have back, knee, and hip
This
problems.
frees up our hands.
It frees up our hands, but it causes so many other problems.
It doesn't matter. For the amount of
Never seen
time.
a chimpanzee try to run? It's like
For the amount of time we need to stay alive to reproduce,
It's sufficient.
it's efficient.
Yeah.
There is no perfect
You don't
body.
need. You don't.
No,
the human
but
body
the
doesn't need
idea,
to
but the
live
idea
past
is
20.
that if people say the perfection of the human body, which a lot of people do,
We are
we
not
are-
perfect. We are far from perfect.
yeah.
The
Per-
human body is.
I say that's
elementally
just a stupid
screwed
question.
up.
I say that searching for. I will get to you. I'm saying that saying that the human body is perfect, or why isn't it perfect, or what is perfect. I think that's a bad question. Nothing in
Evolution
biology.
doesn't care
there-
about
yeah.
perfection.
Biology doesn't have a point. It's
It's
just the study of what's happening.
It's a
Yes,
study of
exactly, Chaz. The human body is the right tool for what we use it for.
Which is
the
why.
best tool for what we use it for.
Which
Not
is
necessarily
which is
the
why
Not
I
necessarily-
laugh.
the perfect tool.
It's not necessarily
Look,
perfect.
it
but
has
it's the
an
best
enormous
that we
amount of
have.
problems. Dante, go.
Go, Dante.
This is
Go.
why I laugh at the term intelligent design.
I,
We are not intelligent.
Because
I'll point out I can make a better one.
okay, real quick. All right, because
No, I'm just saying, I can make a better human. If I
Yeah.
had all of his
Oh, okay.
omnipresent
'Cause
powers.
People
He's
use
working
that.
on it,
People use
actually.
that whole eye thing. You know, it's so complex and all this stuff. But I'm like, there are plenty of animals that have better eyes.
I
than
just
Cats
found.
have better eyes than we do.
owls.
I just
so you
found
mean to
a-
tell me that
I think
God likes
squids do.
owls?
Squid does.
Squid. Actually, I did a paper on giant squid not so long
Oh,
ago.
what the fun thing also
which
is,
studies their eyesight.
eyesight in the kind of eyes that we have evolved, I think it's like 43 separate, it's evolved 43 separate times
From different evolutionary.
from different
tracks.
evolutionary tracks.
Because it's just Good.
Stop cursing.
It's just
He said
good.
up.
I will throw you out.
Which the idea of convergent evolution comes in. There are some things that are just good.
It's
They
good to be able to
work.
see.
They
And that's
work
why
well.
most things have mouths.
Or the reason that sharks and dolphins are so similarly shaped. Is an easy
Even though
one.
they're incredibly evolutionarily different.
Yeah, because the shape works.
I mean,
Speaking,
It's like-
we were just talking about like the imperfection of the human body. I just found an article: 5 ways evolution has screwed us over.
Okay, how's it?
Is one of
What's
those
one of them?
Number 5: getting kicked in the junk hurts because it makes sperm work better.
It doesn't have to. Like we could have had a better cooling system.
Yep. Number 4.
So if I kick you in the nuts, you'd produce better sperm?
No.
No,
I'm
it,
confused.
no,
It
they,
hurt,
they, you know what? You know why scrotums exist?
Yes.
Because
it's
it's easier when you speak.
thermoregulation.
Yeah.
Number 4: we need dentists and braces because we evolved larger brains.
Yep, wisdom teeth and all that.
The teeth kind of suck. Our teeth are awful.
Number 3:
I need to have four extractions.
we choke on food because we evolved the ability to speak.
Yep.
Yes.
We
so
both of our
one
our
tube
airway.
where we breathe
Yeah.
and eat from.
Wait a minute, dolphins can speak, and they have totally different holes.
Sorry.
No, I don't. I'm
So
saying
they don't.
choke, unless you plug their air hole.
No, that's just a nostril.
Yeah.
They
don't.
meet up eventually.
I think what he's trying to say is that
I
they
don't
don't have to
think
breathe
they
through
do.
their
I think
mouth.
they do.
They like.
That's a good question. I might look that up.
They have an epiglottis.
I've
Dude,
heard
I
they
can
don't.
I can still make noise
I
while
mean,
I'm eating.
They don't breathe with their mouth, and they don't eat with their nostrils. So,
No, but they meet up eventually.
well, I kind of.
Oh, so they do share the same
maybe.
tube eventually.
Don't
Okay.
doubt
I'm gonna
me.
look up a cross section
I've
of a
heard it.
dolphin.
Okay.
This is gonna be one of the weirdest
number
things to look
2:
at today.
pregnant women get morning sickness to help avoid parasites. That sucks.
Thank you, evolution.
I'm sorry,
And
Mama.
what's the top one?
Number 1:
Wait,
our
let me guess.
spines don't heal because of the size of our brains.
Ooh,
That's
I've never even heard that one.
Yeah,
That
never know
sucks.
either. How does that happen?
I was thinking it would be like
Find out on
storing
cracked.com.
lots and lots of fat.
Crack?
Let's see.
Cracked.com.
Yeah. Let's see. Broken bones, no problem. Punctured lung, it's bad, but it'll heal. But not the spine. Once the spine is damaged, it's all over. But why? It's certainly not like that for all creatures. Newts and baby opossums can rebuild their nervous system with comparative ease. Hell, lizards voluntarily sever, then regrow their spinal cords as part of an amazing screw you escape mechanic. And it's not like we can't heal. You know, we didn't rework a lot of things. But the answer is Mother Nature miraculously managed to cram 2.5 square feet of brain surface into our hollow skulls without making us look like a Tim Burton alien. And that structure and the rest of the central nervous system is unbelievably complex and unbelievably specific. If your face gets damaged from a broken beer bottle and the skin cells don't grow back quite right, just means you have a cool scar. But if your central nervous system doesn't grow quite right, suddenly your limbs don't work. There's no margin for error. So the spinal system doesn't allow itself to regrow, because if it screws up at all, you're done.
Like the tiniest little bit.
Yeah.
That's intelligent design.
Exactly. So
Not very smart.
So our spines don't grow because if they grew back wrong, we'd be dead.
So when
Not
they say-
intelligent.
So when they say
Yeah,
grow
I
back,
think
though, you'd be like,
evolutionarily-
I'd be dead if I did.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think evolutionarily, like you break your back, like out in the wild, you break your back, you lose the use of your legs.
You're prey.
I don't think there's much worse about trying to.
Yes, but that's
You're prey.
Yes,
regardless.
but you're talking about like macro damage, like damage that would incapacitate you. The nervous system can't regrow damage at all.
It's a cross section of a dolphin head.
Yeah.
So they do share the same
Yes.
So they can't
the
do it,
esophagus.
right?
I'm pretty. They actually have a sphincter that goes directly to their.
Swinker?
Sphincter.
It's a circular muscle.
I think their mouths
It opens
too.
and
Look, does that totally go around the trachea?
I can't tell.
Cross sections why must it be
It's
two-dimensional?
It's hard to do it 3D.
Wow.
What?
It's 7:30.
Oh yeah, we'll do this later.
Yes, it's
But it
7:30.
looks like
Thank you for watching.
Okay, so I hope we covered all of your magical nonsense that you wanted to know, internet people. If you have any questions for us, email us at drexfreethought@gmail.com. You can also visit our website at the Drexel Freethought at drexelfreethoughts.org. Search Drexel Freethought Society and you'll find us. We're also on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. We're part of Drexel. If you go to Drexel, please join us. Email us topics. Email us questions. I'm rambling at this point. Have a nice day, internet.
And it's drexelfreethought.org.
Thank you, Secretary.
Grow a backbone. Join the club.
Don't grow a backbone, you'll be dead.
I'm trying to hit
Go
stop.
fly backbones.
Have a nice night, everyone.
I knew